that. Joining us now for a reaction, CEO of Starnes Media Group, Todd Starnes, and host of Stacy on the Right, Stacy Washington. Stacy, when people hear stories like this out of Wisconsin, I'm sure their ears just curl and they get so viscerally respond to this, because it's maddening that that kind of thing now is happening on our land, and these people need to be held responsible.
So we're having a clash of cultures here, right? And we've discussed this many times before here on Newsmax, and I certainly talk about it on the radio. And it doesn't mean that Afghanis can't be made to understand American culture, our laws and rules and regulations. But in a situation like the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, there was very little time to figure out who was actually getting on the planes. Couple that with the fact that they're just storing the people wherever they can find a place to store them, and that we didn't have an orderly transition, and that most of these individuals don't even understand what their process is that they're undergoing, because they're not SIV applicants, they're just Afghanis. And it's a recipe for failure and disaster, which is what we're seeing. Anyone who commits a crime should be deported immediately. That would actually be a deterrent in and of itself, and it would make it possible for us to figure out what we're doing with 13,000 people in a space that's supposed to fit 10,000. Classic Biden debauchery.
Yeah, and Todd, what I'm still unclear on is who has to give permission for us to first go to those other countries so that people can be properly vetted before they are brought here. And I think that it's those other countries that have to grant us permission to do that and stay there for any period of time.
Well, that's true, Heather, but we already do have a system in place. It's something called legal immigration, and that has gotten lost in this discussion. There are thousands and thousands of people who apply to come to this country legally every single year. Are we really surprised that people who invade our nation, whose first order of business is to break our laws, are we really surprised when these people turn around and commit heinous crimes on American soil? This is outrageous. This is offensive, and it ought to outrage every single American citizen. The Biden administration, they are responsible for this awful violence that's happening. The blood that has been shed on American soil by the hands of illegal aliens has to stop. And until the Democrats get serious about that, it's not going to change. This is why elections are so important. And I hope people understand what happened back in 2020. It turns out that there are a lot of things a hell of a lot worse than mean tweets.
Yeah, Stacy, when you hear these stories about attacking women, little boys, suffocating a wife, this was the worst case scenario people were thinking about of unvetted people coming in, right?
Well, so, I have to be real here. Women in America are abused domestically by their husbands, boyfriends, and significant others. So, domestic abuse is not something that's unique to Afghanis. But we already have enough criminals here in this country. We already have enough people here who don't obey the law that we need to incarcerate and remediate here in America. So we shouldn't be shipping in people who are criminals. Secondly, these people are being held in inhumane conditions, 13,000 in a place that fits 10,000. All of these things fall at the feet of the Biden administration. And I just want to point out, we were supposed to be seeing unity. It wasn't just the mean tweets that Todd Starnes just mentioned there. We were not only not supposed to have mean tweets, we were supposed to have unity, and the border was supposed to be more humane. Now we not only have an inhumane border, we have an inhumane situation with Afghan refugees who, quite honestly, they shouldn't be here. The congressman said they should be in the safe third country, Qatar. They should be in cultures that are more like their own. It is a culture shock for Afghan men to see women running around with their faces and heads and ankles and wrists uncovered, bossing other men around. They're not used to that. We have to assimilate these people. And some of them, quite frankly, don't want to be assimilated. They belong in Afghanistan.
Yeah, but yet at the same time, there are many that are still stuck in Afghanistan that did have the appropriate paperwork, that did work with Americans, that did want to be here, who are still stuck behind enemy lines. Thank you all. Stand by.